His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. It carried the quiet power of a storm held back by sheer will. Across the grand oak table, the heiress stood frozen. Her gown, worth more than his yearly income, seemed to lose its shimmer. Her breath was caught somewhere between disbelief and recognition. She knew that voice. It had been 3 years, 2 months, and 7 days since she last heard it. Ethan Hayes wasn't supposed to be here. He was a former construction worker, now a full-time single father. The only reason he de-stepped foot in this opulent charity gala was because his daughter had been invited to sing a rare honor for a child so young. He'd spent weeks preparing her. They'd practiced her song in the tiny kitchen of their small apartment, surrounded by the scent of burnt toast and instant coffee. He'd left her encouraging sticky notes on her lunchbox and sung her lullabies after long, exhausting days on the job site. He never ever expected to find her asterisk in the crowd. Alina Carter, heiress to the Carter Group, one of the most powerful corporations in the country, a woman whose life was paved with marble floors and private jets. A woman who, once upon a time, had sat barefoot on his broken sofa, eating cereal straight from the box and laughing like it was the only thing she'd ever wanted. Their worlds had collided in a hurricane of passion and difference. He was calloused hands and steel-toed boots. She was silk dresses and whispered apologies for being late. But fate, or rather, her father had torn them apart with brutal efficiency. She had walked away, leaving a note that said she was sorry. He had stayed behind, just him and the daughter she never knew he was raising. Alina, Ethan said now, his voice steady, his eyes unreadable. The buzzing room fell silent, conversations dying on the lips of the city's elite. You don't have to say anything, but I'm not hiding anymore. She's with me. As if on cue, a little girl with a cloud of dark hair peeked out from behind his leg. She clutched a crumpled piece of paper in her hand. Her eyes hazel, wide, and curious were the exact shade as Elena's. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Elena's hands, holding a champagne flute, began to shake. The perfectly trained composure she wore like armor finally cracked. Her mask, so carefully constructed over the years, shattered into something real, raw, broken. Her voice was a fragile quiver, barely audible across the suddenly cavernous hall. Is she mine? Ethan inhaled sharply, the years of pain etching new lines into his features. He'd imagined this moment 1,000 times. In some versions, he was angry. In others, indifferent. But seeing her now, stripped of her power and looking just as lost as he'd felt that morning, he found her note. All he could feel was a deep, aching sorrow for them both. She's ours, he said, the words heavy with everything left unsaid. Memories surged through Alina, violent and overwhelming. The night they'd cried together on his small balcony, watching the city lights flicker below. The moment she'd whispered, "I love you," against his chest, terrified and exhilarated. The cold, sterile morning she'd packed a bag and left without a word, her father's threats echoing in her ears. He had promised to ruin Ethan, to destroy his life, to make him disappear if she didn't leave. She didn't know then that she was leaving behind something more, someone more. Slowly, as if in a dream, Alina started walking toward them. Her designer heels felt clumsy and foreign on the polished floor. The other guests remained motionless, a tableau of shock and fascination, afraid to break the spell. She didn't notice them. Her entire world had narrowed to the man she'd been forced to abandon and the small child who was a living, breathing piece of their shared past. Kneeling down, her expensive gown pooling around her, she finally met her daughter's gaze, tears. She hadn't allowed herself to cry for 3 years, began to stream down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. "Hi," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. I'm Alina." The little girl tilted her head, her expression serious. "Daddy says you like stars. I drew you one." She opened her small, chubby hand, revealing the crumpled paper. On it was a child's drawing, a big, yellow, 5-pointed star. Beneath it were 3 stick figures holding hands. A man, a woman, a little girl. Elena's breath hitched, breaking into a sob that she couldn't contain. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated heartbreak and hope. She looked up at Ethan, her eyes pleading, desperate. Can I hold her?" For a second, Ethan hesitated. Years of pain, loneliness, and silent resentment stood between them like a fortress wall. He'd been both mother and father. He'd weathered the fevers, the scraped knees, the nightmares, all alone. But then the little girl tugged on his hand and offered him a reassuring smile, a smile that was all his. "It's okay, Daddy," she said, her voice clear and bright. "She looks like me." The entire room seemed to hold its breath as Ethan gave a slow, deliberate nod. Alina reached out, her arms trembling, and took her daughter into her arms for the very first time. The child felt so small, so real. It was a weight and a warmth that settled deep in her soul. In that instant, Elena's world shifted on its axis. It wasn't about wealth or legacy anymore. It was about this connection. This was the real thing she had been unknowingly searching for her entire life. The love she thought she had lost forever. The family she never knew she had. Ethan moved closer, his own composure finally cracking. His voice broke as he spoke, low and meant only for her. "You walked away once," he said, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But this time—" He paused, his gaze intense. "If we do this, we do it together." Alina looked from his face to the precious child in her arms, and back to the man she had never, not for one single day, stopped loving. She reached out her free hand, her fingers finding his. "I'm not walking away," she whispered, a promise sealed by 3 years of heartache. "Not anymore." And right there in that ballroom, amid the diamonds and the chandeliers, the whispers and the disbelief, a single father, a lost heiress, and a brave little girl holding a drawing of a star began to rewrite their story. Together, thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to our channel for more content that touches the heart. We'll see you in the next one.